So like I mentioned earlier, the arcade game is basically this, and they play it with these 4 buttons right here. And the way that these 4 buttons are laid out is very, very important to take note of. As I mentioned in my controller tutorial video, this is how the arcade players hit and react to those multi-notes. Because every chart that they design, they make sure that they match those multi-notes to fit the exact same layout as this. Here we have all the possible double combinations and multi-notes that you can do in this game. Some are not as common as others. The 2 most common pairs are going to be the opposite ones, which is triangle and square, and X and O. So these are the 2 that I recommend you get real comfortable recognizing it, first of all, in the different ways that they spawn in the charts. But more importantly, you want to get real comfortable learning your favorite way of pressing these 2 notes, because you're going to be doing these 2 notes a lot. I mean, you're going to do all these a lot, but these 2 are definitely more common than the others from what I noticed. On your controller, you got different ways that you can press it. Let me just erase some of this here. So triangle and square is these 2, or these 2. Usually for fat thumbing purposes, triangle and square is real easy to do on the left side, because your thumb is going to be kind of like this when you're playing and gripping the controller. This is lined up nice and perfectly. While the X and O are going to be these 2. So again, the same thing, nice and easy to fat thumb with your left thumb. Not as easy to fat thumb with your right thumb, but still doable. It's just, you know, your thumb is going to be kind of like this, so it doesn't line up as nicely. But yes, these 2 notes here, you need to get real comfortable learning out how to press them. The 2 notes that I would advise you in actually setting a macro for are these ones right here, which is the opposites. Reason being, although if you play on a Joy-Con, it's not so bad, since the Joy-Con is 4 separate buttons. You can actually fat thumb the opposites, which is like this, right? Or these 2 here. It's just not going to be comfortable, and you gotta make sure your thumb doesn't accidentally tap like the 2 opposites if you're trying to like go for these 2 opposites right here. But it's recommended, as you can see in this layout here. That's why we have the triangle and X as our R and L. This is actually the exact same macro setup that Deathblood uses for pretty much every song, while some other players like Stoic would use the double notes for all 4 macros. You gotta experiment around and see which one is gonna suit your style. Some players will not even use doubles and triples or even quads on their macros, but what they'll do is they'll do single macros. So they'll do single on all 4 and press a combination of the triggers with the face buttons as they're doing the multi-notes, and they learn it that way. So definitely experiment around and see which way you want to learn. I got a snapshot here of Interviewer, and these notes are spawning coming from the top down. This is important to understand which direction they come from, because when they come from the top down or from the bottom up, they have a very specific rule that they have to follow. Is this layout right here. So as you can see, it's the exact same layout. Triangle, square, X, circle. We'll never ever have X here, a square here, or a circle here. Never. It will always be a triangle that's on this part of the screen when the notes come in from the top or bottom. It's got different rules when it comes horizontally, so from the left to right, but when it comes from top bottom, you're gonna always see the triangle here. I made quite a bit of mess right now. And same thing for all the other shapes. Once you realize this, you don't really need to react to the double notes anymore. It's just a matter of how well can you press the double notes now, because you actually can read it in time without, you know, thinking, oh god, the line connected to the triangle and the square, where's that on my controller? And then you know it's too late by the time there's like too many notes. So you don't have to do that anymore. You just gotta remember this layout when it's vertically spawning. So what does that mean? Let's say there's a double note for square and X. You know it. It's going to be always in the middle of the screen, and it's going to be with a line connecting like this. You're never going to see square and X somewhere on this side or somewhere on this side when the notes are coming top and bottom. Let's go to our next diagram. Here's a triangle and circle. There are the two notes on the opposite sides of the layout. So of course, they got the biggest gap between them. You can see that big ass line right there. Connecting the two notes coming in here for landing. So same thing, as soon as you see the huge gap, oh, that's the triangle circle. You gotta press that. How you press it, up to you. For me personally, I would fat thumb the triangle and circle if it's something simple like this. If there's like a whole bunch of double notes, like in the extreme 9.5 and 10s in a row, I may not use the fat thumb. I may just tap it separately. So like I would tap triangle on this side, tap circle on this side. This lets me swap out the, like if it's like a bunch of double and singles and triples like all whacked in together. This lets me kind of like swap out the buttons better. This is Two-Faced Lovers Extra Extreme. So again, they're trying to intimidate you by throwing all these notes at you if you're a new player. But again, if you remember my Hiso tip here, look at this triangle and square. This is just one note. Not as intimidating as you might think. This is actually just 5 notes in a row, which is X, and then left thumb, triangle, square, and X, and then left thumb, triangle, square. So you're basically just hitting 5 notes in a row. It just looks like it's a ton, you know, because it's multi-notes and there's like lines going over here, and you're like, oh my god, what am I doing now? It's 5 notes. But if you were to play this on the controller in slow-mo, you would tap X on your right thumb first. I would fat thumb triangle and square because this is the friendly fat thumb double note. It lines up perfectly with your thumb's alignment, so you just go and then and then and then and then That's how you do that part right there. Grunting not necessary. Next, this is the part right after. Exactly the same thing again, except it's a X and O. So again, you just press square for the first note, and XO for the second note. XO, this is the good double note for left sides, as it lines up again with your thumb perfectly. So here we have a triple note. It's followed by a double note. Or actually, yeah, triple note, then the double note. The double note's further away. Again, this looks kind of intimidating for like brand new players, but it's not so bad. All you have to do is remember there's only 4 ways you can do a triplet, but 2 of the triplets, like the combination of triplets, 2 of them are the most common, which is the ones that always are together. So your choices are these 3 right here, okay, or these 3 right here. These 2 sets of triplets are like what you're going to see the most in charts. So if we go back to our diagram here, you can see same thing. It's following the line layout: triangle, square, X, circle. Triangles on the left side, so boom, right away you just gotta think, okay, I gotta hit square and X, because square and X is the common, you know, common 2 notes here in the triplet. And really, you're just gonna hit triangle for the left side, or you're gonna hit circle for the right side. And how you're gonna do that is completely up to you. There's lots of ways you can do it. So for example, you can map out, some people would do the bumpers, which is L and R right here. So some people would map out the triangle, square, X on like this bumper, and then the one that's without the triangle, so square, X, and circle on this bumper. So whenever they see the triangle show up on the right side, they would just tap R. Or if the triangle shows up for the triplet note on the left side, they would tap L. This is like the easiest way to do it, but it's not very efficient in the long run. So I don't recommend setting your macros to triplets just for this purpose right here. I would start at, you know, right in the first place and learn how to, you know, fat thumb the triplet your style. My favorite way, which is I guess not as fondly looked upon, is I would tap on the D-pad these two right here, which is the square and X. And then if I see the triangles on the right side, that's the one that's got the circle, right? So I would just tap A, the circle. And if the triangle is on the left side from the vertical spawning, then I would again just tap these two notes and tap triangle instead, not the A. This one right here, again, they're trying to throw you off, intimidate you. Oh my god, look at this trapezoid, like, you know, two triangles and then another triangle that's like inverted. Like, what the hell's going on? No, it's not a big deal. This is just 3 triangles in a row. So they just inverted it. So this is one triangle right here, and this is the other triangle. Like I said, you're never ever, and when it's coming vertically, this will never be like a triangle here, or like this will be a triangle. Like, it will never be like that. It always follows this pattern. So you just gotta keep an eye for it. So that's triplets summed up pretty much for vertical spawning. We're already done with that. And the doubles, like I said, they're always gonna come vertically. It will follow this layout here. Triangle will be right there. Let's move on. For horizontal spawning. Horizontal is when there's more freedom in the charting rule sets. So this was when it gets a little bit more complex, but it still follows the basic core concept. So for this one, nice and easy, they matched it up perfectly for us. So we got a double note here, triangle and square. Is that illegal? No, it's not, because triangle and square are buddies. They're beside each other. What you will never see, though, is an X right here, like triangle X, that's beside each other. Because again, even though it's horizontal with slightly different rule sets, they will still follow the core layout. And triangle and X are not buddies. They got a little space between them. You see them on the chart, whether it's horizontal or vertical, they will never ever be beside each other. There will always be one gap between them, like so. So let's go on to the next one. Like I said, square, circle, they're not beside each other because on layout they are not buddies. They got a little gap between them, and we see that reflected in the horizontal notes here. So when they come horizontally, they still follow the layout. There's 2 double notes. Again, they follow the layout. This is the opposites, triangle and X. And there's a gap between here. So this is how you can get used to it. As you play, you can choose how you want to tackle these kind of notes. So let's say, for example, let's say the next note we gotta hit is this one, and then the next note is this one right here. So how would you do this? For me, personally, I would hit the X with my right thumb, and then my left thumb is the one that's doing all the switching. So square is right here, so I would hit square for that first note. Second note, the triangle. So I'm not even looking down here anymore after I see that these are all the same. Like, let's say for example it was like this, and then there's like even more notes here. So like another triangle like this, like back to a square, and let's say it's back to an X. So it's like a weird lopsided pyramid or whatever. So when I see like this coming up here, oh okay, they're all X's, so I'm just gonna, you know, treat this as just pressing X's on the right side the entire time to the rhythm. And then really I'm just switching my left thumb between these notes, so I'm just looking up here only. I'm not even looking down there anymore, thanks to the way that they always chart these double and triple notes.